Yep, that one.
So how's it going?
I remember that name.
You do? Oh yeah, you saw my booth? Yeah, you came to the How you doing? What's up?
No, I don't think it's
How's it going? Yeah. Pretty good. It's been busy?
No, it sounds good.
Yeah, I was also with
Yeah.
registration process.
Slow today, but I'm here.
Faculties?
It takes about an hour.
So you don't need to write anything, you're just going to go by the numbers.
You know, some of my classmates are here too. Maybe
They're all
they didn't. You think they picked it up by any chance?
What's your last name?
Muhammad?
Let's look.
School, and I definitely wasn't going on a scholarship. I also had no idea what I wanted to do, and that's something that never really goes away, I think, even if they tell you it does. And then financials were a big factor for me, so I'm the first person in my family to go to college at all. So for both my parents, the idea of going to getting an advanced education was really foreign to them. So they basically just didn't know how to help me, they didn't know how to prepare me, they didn't know what it looked like, what's a FAFSA, all those things. So they knew that getting a four-year degree was probably important to getting a job nowadays. They really harp on that, which there's different, micro may disagree, but if you want a professional job, a lot of times what once required, high school degree does require a bachelor's now, what once required a bachelor's now requires a master's and so forth. So I went here with Towson, then I originally was a psychology major, but I really just took a broad swath of classes, so it was all gen eds at FCC. I went into Towson with no debt, which is wonderful, if you're paying outright. And really up until my last year or so in my four-year degree, I didn't acquire any college debt, which is really nice compared to what most people come out with. So somewhere in my third year of college, I switched and went to a molecular biology background because I determined why I was interested in psych was actually the biology aspect of it. And then eventually I ended up getting 2 bachelors.
Then for the Tensile Tester, the Tensile Tester we used was the Pasco materials tester. And what this did was it would clamp on to the ends. You can see here that these ends have these bumpers on them. You would put the part inside of the 2 clamps on either side of this, and you would turn a crank and it would rip the part apart. And it would measure the strength and the amount of distance you had to pull for that part to break. So that's our materials and our rationale for doing this project. So at-home users portion of that, because people have been starting to make parts such as pliers and forks and usable screwdrivers, and people want to know exactly how to print things to the best of their ability without having to do all the research. They just want to be able to look things up. So we wanted to provide some of that information on what to look up. And one of the main things that people with 3D printers would be messing with is leaving a part in the sun. They wouldn't want the part to be damaged by that. They want to know how strong the parts are, and they might want to use different processing methods for the 3D printing, such as the layer deposition time, and mess with different materials. So those were all parts of general at-home 3D printing that people might want to learn more about. So what we know a lot about,
the K through divided by K over CK. This implies that, CKM to the K is greater than or equal to F divided by K. Okay, so we're going to use proposition 1 again. Now, F of M, if you don't remember, is actually going to have, you see how everything is that's the wrong one, excuse me. Proposition 1, every coefficient of F is something that is necessarily smaller than our original polynomial. And by doing that, we consider the zeros of F. Anyway, we wind up, hold on, let me think about this for a second. So we have, we're going to evaluate F at M, and then we're going to swap everything and come up with something smaller, and then we can factor out our M to the N. And then you see that we're, factoring out, and actually, let me just do this really quick because it's pretty cool. So F to the M is greater than or equal to, and we're going to replace
your compassion and the love that you have for them spreads. You're taking better care of your animals. They become less stressed, and they become very good research models. So yes, our industry needs animal lovers. In this industry, you stay on the cutting edge of research. I already described some of the really cool things going on. And every research facility has different projects, and you can become as involved in them as you want to. Not only applying for promotions and moving your way up into a vet tech or a research role, but just even if you're just an animal caretaker, ask lots and lots of questions. The researchers are so excited to share everything they know. Sometimes it's way over your head, but they're really willing to share what they've learned and what they know. It's an ever-changing field, constantly growing, new projects going on all the time, and as I described, you're really making a difference by improving human health, not just human, and all the kind of brochures and literature here comes from them, so you can learn a lot about them. But these professional certifications are going to help you grow. Employers are looking for education, experience, and certifications. And I talked about how many jobs there are in this area. They're also very competitive. So the employers are looking for these certifications. So your basic one is the assistant laboratory animal technician, then you move up to the laboratory animal technician, laboratory animal technologist, and then our managers, our experts in the field, become CMAR certified, certified manager of animal resources. And then I just wanted to touch on the vet tech national exam. To become a licensed vet tech, there is a national exam that you can take. But the cool thing about lab animal science is to be a vet tech in this field, you don't have to be.
So you have the little.
Pretty legit.
Okay.
Complex zeros.
It says CCPC on your name tag.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Me neither,
You
because
guys have something.
definitely think they should have highlighted.
Yeah.
There's like,
Yeah, we do. I think we have,
public
I think we only have one
record
extra,
research
just like one bigger
programs.
one.
I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the guy that's in the CAD class there, he's been talking to me over the last week, trying to do more stuff, but I guess funding's an issue from time.
Define what you mean by
Another
that.
renovate.
To graduate and gives you a lot of experience and head start for that AT exam for which you need those hours. So just trying to show some diversity here. We have all sorts of students. One is one of the students on the top is Kaden Cowell, right after high school, and actually got a job right next year. And Terry King was 20 years in the industry but has no experience, no education at all, no educational career. So he came back, got the education. Right now he's in Hopkins and trying to go to NIH, so I mean he's doing really great. So we send our students to internship in all of these different places, which are right next to us, and of course some of them are a little bit far away from us. These are the skills that that everyone learns, and I think I've told about this already. In addition, if you do biotech certificate, which needs only 2 additional courses, you could actually learn bunch of more skills which would be helpful for your career. So there is so much to do. We have placed so many students in different places in here, and they have hopped on from one place to another. And I think we are having a lot of fun too. So Brian has been awarded a Community Partnership Award in 2015. Students learn a lot of skills, and they also go to field trips to get actual experience of how it is to work like a caretaker. And they of course have a lot of support from the biotech club, which is having a separate session right now. So that's about it. I don't want to make it too long. It's right now 9:32. Our contact information is here. You can feel free to take it down. You can just connect with us on Facebook. If you leave a comment or something, I'll be the one that will be getting back to you. I'm the coordinator for the program. And one more person that I would want to acknowledge here is my Associate Dean, Dr. Anil Malaki, right there. And without him, this was not possible. So it is open for questions. You can ask Ms. Love or me, whichever question you have in mind.
I want to ask, does PETA, since there's so much animal awareness and cruelty awareness, is PETA really picketing or have an issue with you doing things with the animals?
Certainly in the past there have been events where I work. NIH is very, very secure, and that's, as a manager, one of the biggest things you want to look out for, that's a big part of your job, is security and public awareness. And right now there's a big push for outreach, and that's why I'm so excited about sharing, what we do, and that we provide really good care for the animals. They're not just tested on and discarded. But right now, we in the industry are trying to outreach and tell the public that we take good care of them, because PETA has for so long had these wonderful marketers who kind of put posters out and pamphlets and protests. But if we can tell the public how well the animals are taken care of, that kind of helps. But I haven't seen any events or any disruptions in my time, although I've heard about it kind of in the past and in passing. So it's not an everyday, commonplace sort of thing, but it happens.
So BCCC would be one of your first place that you can think of if you want to get into the career, and your teacher is going to be Miss Love if you do that. And I have some cards, I don't have too many, so here if you want cards.
Yeah, if you think the only single track is working in a clinic and being a vet tech and taking care of those animals, really good benefits, and it pays quite well.
Do you offer dual enrollment for high school students?
Yes. We can offer, at this point we have just started, so we can offer. The only thing is we will need to see if you have a cohort of 10 or 12 students, we can do an on-site class over there at your high school. But if there is another, we can make this happen. We are starting, and we are actually just exploring. The program is really growing fast.
It's okay, I don't think the video.
Amrita, this way. This
Thank you. You're welcome.
Should we have divided?
Dr. Larissa.
So you need to come with us.
Hello, Kushe.
This was for the, she said for the committee.
Committee members.
No, everybody goes.
Where to go now?
Are we going this way?
Yes. No.
Thomas, if you get there, keep a chair for me. For me. I'm coming over. I have to send people. He's not surprised.
No video. No YouTube.
What time am I supposed to be? Rich, read your schedule. I've already loaded it in here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna fire this thing up in a few minutes, and so if you're ready, you guys can.
Steve Wentz.
So I was gonna use that little handheld thing, but that's fine, I'm good. I'm good. So good morning, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to beautiful Carroll County. It's fitting that this conference is going on today in the middle of beautiful spring, and certainly we're seeing a lot of new growth and things coming up like they've never come up before. I can tell you that from personal experience, because I mowed my grass the other day and I don't think it looks like I even touched it. So things are really happening. So certainly it's an honor for us in Carroll County to have this happening here at Carroll Community College. The community college network across this great state is incredible, and we are so proud of what is happening, not just here, but across our great state. So, but I'm gonna be get a little personal here with what we do here, and certainly want to congratulate everything that goes on here at Carroll Community College. Dr. Ball and the network that we have available here to our young people, not just our young people, but folks that take advantage of the community college system is incredible. And we're seeing some great advances in all parts of life as a result of what energies go into providing a great education for everybody. So certainly very important here today with STEM and all that surrounds it and all that is associated with is just is remarkable. You know, who knows what the future lies, and one of the things that makes it most incredible is the fact that these kind of conferences come together and look at not only what we're doing today, but what's going to happen in the future. And it's just mind-boggling things that are happening surrounding STEM and everything that's going on. So I wish you a fantastic day here in Carroll County. If you get a chance, stick your head out the door. I'll make sure that the folks know that you have to get a chance to do that. Breathe in some of this fantastic country air up here. And we certainly, again, do appreciate the fact that you're here. Enjoy your day. And the emphasis, again, on the future is just unbelievable. As a result of the things that you all are looking at, who knows where we're going with our futures, our communities. It's unbelievable the emphasis that STEM has on all the things that happen here across not only the state but the whole country. So congratulations for being a part of this, and again, enjoy the day, and thank you all for being here. Safe travels in wherever it takes you, and enjoy this beautiful weather. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And let me tell you a little something about this gentleman. He is a retired firefighter and fire and public safety administrator and trainer. So he knows a lot about the applications of physics and chemistry. Am I right?
Yeah,
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, and some of the things that you all are coming up with as a result of these conferences blows my mind. It really does, because it's changed the way in which we do our jobs now in public safety. So that's huge too. So thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that.
And I don't think, when you think about the life, speaks volumes about the quality of this gentleman.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
So again, welcome to the college. We really appreciate you being here. Hopefully this is a very stimulating day for you. I know it's a stimulating day for us, our faculty. And to all the faculty that are here with their students, we want to say welcome and thank you for what you do to engage these students, to engage all here to say hello to you and tell you about what they do and their programs and so on. So thank you all for being here. And I want to thank the planning committee for putting all this together. Dr. Khan in the back, and for those of you who were involved in planning this event, would you raise your hand and stand up? Thank you. Now, I want to get on with the day here for you, which engages 2,800 girls in outreach events. She won the Society of Women Engineers Eastern U.S. Region Outstanding Mentor Award last year. Her programs have provided over 225 Society for Women Engineer professionals as mentors to middle school and collegiate students in outreach events every year. She's on the board for the Baltimore City's high school engineering programs, Project Lead the Way. She graduated with a BS in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana, and has a master's degree in management from Johns Hopkins University. She's the first female from her, either side of her family to go to college and to have achieved that level of education as the first generation student, so it's quite a bit. This will also tell you something about you. You won't be able to, and I hope I'm not stepping on her thunder, but she's got a little badge on saying this is what this is what an engineer looks like. And so, without further ado, Kate McGuire.
But first I want you to think about this weekend. You're going to eventually leave. Are you happy about having choices for the weekend? Are you happy about the fact that you get to choose the friends you're going to contact? And do you like to have choices about, hey, the classes you're going to take next semester? You might learn something, you might change your mind totally. Who here likes to have choices on a number of things? Good. So I hope you have a good weekend. And so I'm going to tell you about a little bit more about who am I. So, I was a young girl that had no role models going to college except my dad. My dad went for free on what was called the GI Bill. If you served in World War II, you got to go to college for free. And I was a very quiet child that liked to read mystery books. I read every Nancy Drew. I've read every Sherlock Holmes, and I still like that. I still like to read. I read every Harry Potter. I read every Rick Riordan. And I really like action adventure, which I didn't really know until I started getting to choose my own movies. I've seen all the Indiana Jones movies. I'm very, very excited about Guardians of the Galaxy coming out soon. I have a serious crush on this guy. And I'm not the most likely person to be an engineer. My button says this is what an engineer looks like. But also my background isn't that likely either. I went to an all-girl high school. It happened to be a Catholic school. I know an awful lot about 17th century literature. I can tell you about Shakespeare. I'm really awesome on Jane Austen. And that, amazingly, really applied to my work, which I know is going to be a shock. So I went to an all-girl high school, and I was doing well, and I was in a family where people should work. What do you want to do to work? And so my best friend had a family friend who said, what about engineering? And we went to talk to that person and saw his work, and it was a manufacturing plant. And here comes my action adventure. It was, they took a bunch of stuff, and they brought it in, and they boiled it down, and they brought it up to the roof, and he took us to the roof, and he took us to an assembly line, and they were making basically kitchen counters. But you would think they were making the coolest thing, because work wasn't about sitting at a desk like homework. Work was about getting to work with all these people, and they were accomplishing something. So I thought I'd try engineering, and I still think I've been trying engineering because I like everything, but it's every year a good fit for me. After college, I got a job. I actually worked at a place, and for the first time in my life, I didn't like something. I actually hated it. I hated my job. I had picked a job where I was going to be an analyst for thermal products. I was all excited. I was going to be able to get a new car. I was going to be able to have some clothes that weren't jeans and plaid shirts. It was going to be great. And I thought, I really am very shy, so I'm going to sit and just analyze things all day. And oh my God, when you do that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then it's not like school, it didn't come out right, and someone gave you bad information, and they realized the whole project needs to be redefined. I really had to stop and say, is this for me? But I looked at a lot of other things, and I thought, you know what, I like a lot of things, so I think I'll try, because I can get a job in engineering. So I went and looked for another job, and I had 3 different choices. It took me 6 months. It was work by choices, and I worked at Northrop Grumman. Notice I define it as a long time, because when you say 30 years, it starts to add up, and you can figure out my age. So, long time. And the amazing thing to me is that, and I am 29, just to clarify that. For those of you not so good at math. I actually feel like I've worked on dozens of jobs in dozens of companies with dozens of different teams of people, because Northrop makes things and has project work and is 5,000 people here. I worked in Sykesville. I worked in Dallas, Texas with Northrop. But every 2 or 3 years, my job on the project would be phasing into a new phase. Okay, we need to figure out what the customer wants. We need to write the proposals. Hey, I read Jane Austen. I can tell a good story like Shakespeare. I can write a good proposal about what's our story about why you pick us. And so I actually have done a lot of writing. They needed people to present. When I got older, like, I like to talk to my girlfriends. Maybe this could translate. And that's how I ended up talking. I worked with the 100 people that helped put that radar there so you could fly safely. I'm going to tell you, it didn't go well all the time. I brought in binoculars and hung them by the wall because I said, look, it keeps crashing when we're trying to get it to work. Just let's get the binoculars and look to see where the planes are. But now it runs every day of the week, all year long, and it's been running for 25 years. And the left-hand radar is a radar. Basically is like a flash camera. It flashes out microwave energy, and then it takes the picture. It also happens to be able to see if things are moving. And so we took a radar that was as big as this 3 tables, and we stuffed it in a little thing on top of a plane. And I got to do testing. So I didn't know a lot about the product, but I knew I had to be there at 8. I knew how to record data. I knew how to put it in formats. I could see when we were failing and explain very consistently what were the clues of the mystery about when it failed. And so that was a great match for me. Testing was like feeling like a Sherlock Holmes. What are the clues and how do we fix it? I then went and got offered a job in satellites, and I explained to them, that's great, but I don't know anything about satellites. And they said, yeah, you don't have to. Okay. And what I did starting on that job was working in customer meetings, writing the specs. And what was fascinating is I worked on things on the ground, and now things in space, well gosh darn it, it's really cold in space. That really complicates trying to pick what computer we can use, what glass lenses we can use. It also, you think you get sunburned here? Well, gosh, in space they're getting pelted. So we worked with a lot of chemists on what kind of material could take radiation. And then we negotiated and came back and said, okay, we can't meet that spec, we have to change it because we'll never be able to build something. So it wasn't just writing, it was actually communicating, negotiating, learning new science, and I worked with a team so it did not fall on my shoulders, and every day was interesting. Every day there was another surprise. This customer came in and said, oh, I wanted this, and we did the calculations, and it needed so much power. It was going to be the biggest satellite ever launched, ever, anywhere, and probably not possible. A satellite, many of them are 2 to 4 times the size of this podium. They're really small. So there was a lot of, well, that was a great customer, but yeah, that's never going to work. So after doing that, I wrote the specs, and they were going on to design, and I was asked, you know, we have people for design, you don't do design. Would you be interested in helping our submarine team? And I said, guess what I said? I don't know anything about submarines. So I go and get a Tom Clancy book, and I'm reading rather madly, and I find out there's a movie or 2 about submarines, but still, really, I don't know anything. But what they needed was to work with a customer. They want to go from nuclear-powered submarines to electric-powered submarines, and they are trying to transform how they do that. But you got to get it right. It's a very big change. If you screw it up, one of my biggest shocks, and I know this sounds stupid, but when you work in technology, you have to absorb a lot and admit you're surprised by things. They had to make a power system that was probably twice as tall as the podium. And they're explaining to me that they have to get it down the aisles. And I said, well, where's the maintenance door that you can open and take everything out? And they're like, Kate, everything has to go out the hatch. No matter how big or small, we have to break that big thing down so we can get it down the unbelievably narrow aisles and get it out the hatch. So I got a little freaked, and I didn't sleep that well that night. But I thought that was fascinating. I got to work with people, work on submarines, and have been on submarines who are going, because it's $1 billion for every submarine. And that was fascinating. I was in charge of building prototypes, and my biggest skill was I come from a large family. So I would say to the designers, we need to order the prototypes, and they're like, yeah, we're not ready. I'm like, really? You need to order them. And then when we got it built, we were back to solving the mystery of it. Didn't really work like we thought. But I thought I never would have looked for that job. I never would have thought that I had a background. And what a rich experience it was for me, because I got to walk through mock-ups of the prototype. I got to meet all those people from the Hunt for Red October submarine movie. That's the kind of people that you dealt with that spent their life doing that. And again, would I have picked that? No. Was it fascinating so often? Yes. How lucky I was. I then got asked to work on a Navy job, and I said I don't work with the Navy. But again, they were trying to make a ship that was safer, that people could shoot at, but they wouldn't damage the ship or the crew, and also was affordable. I don't know if you know this, but the government's not got that much money. They're running out of money all the time, right? Like yesterday. Thank God they decided to vote to keep the government running. Well, the environment now is if they need a big, expensive, $1 billion satellite, $1 billion submarine, or $1 billion new ship, they have to really work to make it the most affordable, least expensive thing that can do the job, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it. And I ended up finding out that I actually really hate keeping my own budget. I hate keeping my checkbook, but I love keeping other people's budget and breaking up all the costs. And I really don't like to shop. I have 4 sisters. They love to shop. But when you're trying to make things affordable, you have to go out and shop for all the different parts and say, look, you need to sell it to me cheaper. Look, I'm going to go out and find a competitor. And it becomes super fascinating because they won't be able to make that safer ship or that safer submarine that will last longer if you can't figure out how to make it affordable so the government can figure out how to pay for it. And that was another fascinating experience for me because I got to see small businesses and big businesses. But I feel lucky because I have a lot of choices. And that is what I think when you're at a STEM conference, you should be thinking about. If you like 5 or 6 different sessions, you had trouble picking it, that's not a bad thing. If you're not so sure your major is totally you, that's not a bad thing. That means you may be a broad person, and all you need to do is pick one, try it, and see how you can keep moving. So the the next topic I wanted to talk about was, hey, that's a lot about me, my choices, my job security. I had a great job. But when you hear STEM talk, how many times have you been in a STEM talk and they said, let me show you a lot of numbers about how many jobs there are? How many of you have been there? Great. I see some hands are out there, so I'm going to tell you. State of Maryland, the state of New York, the federal government numerous times comes back with the same data over and over, that jobs are going to grow, not that rapidly, but STEM jobs, lots of different types of STEM jobs, those opportunities are going to be growing twice as fast as jobs in the average job. So if you have a background in STEM, you can think about that. You might be able to consider, hey, that might be a job for me. But if you don't translate into STEM, you can't offer STEM jobs without really having the background. So you want to think about that, because I could show you a lot of numbers, but over and over and over again, jobs in the future are going to need more STEM backgrounds. And you kind of know that. Because you kind of, when you go to a restaurant, they have all these computers, and everything is now measured by computers. If you go to a store, you can see a lot of the clothes are machine-made. There's large factories that are making them. If you look at makeup or fashion, we have a big center for CoverGirl here, north of Baltimore. And I've met women engineers who, they're constantly changing the colors, they're constantly changing the ways to apply it, because they need, you buy more if they change it, they make it better, they make it more in line with fashion, they make it last longer. So many things you touch have so much more science and engineering behind them, and that's in a broad array of majors really are things that you want to consider, because you can marry them. I was telling the commissioner that I was here to judge the high school projects for engineering, and they have an engineering high school program here, and the kids think of their own project. They got together with the fashion group, and fashion and the engineers worked together to make wearable technology for clothes. Big trend. I don't really understand it until I saw the projects. They gave me really thin gloves to put on that you can drive and you can press buttons with, but you press a button here and it totally heats up. The fashion people figured out how to make it. It has metal strands that are as thin as my hair. That is amazing to me, that heat it up. Wearable technology in shirts can sense your health characteristics and tell you when you're getting sick before you know it. Or wearable tech can also build the watch into the shirt sleeve. So you look at your shirt sleeve, there's the time, or there's the bell to say you were supposed to meet your friends an hour ago. Lots of possibilities. So if you think, I'm not sure, I love fashion, I love music, I love cars, combining the two can be super powerful, because so many jobs are going towards STEM. So the next question is, how many people here have been to talks or read articles or been told by their teachers that STEM jobs are good paying? Well, for those of you who did not raise your hand, STEM jobs are good paying, and that is important. The statistics, again, I can throw some numbers at you, and I'm going to throw some numbers at you, but it says that more than half of STEM workers, even though one's coming right out of college, will make twice as much as the average Maryland worker. Think about that. Twice as much. And what does that really mean? Well, I thought about that, and how would I convey that to, especially the young people in the audience? What does that mean? And if I throw a lot of numbers at you, I'm not sure that's meaningful. So I thought I would tell you about my nephew, Tim. My nephew, Tim, is, he's 30. When he was your age, he had dropped out of high school. He had had numerous issues, and it just wasn't clicking, and then he got into the wrong people and pot, and he basically dropped out of school. And he then ended up getting treatment for that, and he went through rehab, and then he's working a minimum wage job. That took a year or two to say, okay, this is not where I want to go for the next 60 years. And he got to community college. It happened to be in Minnesota. It was a great thing for him because he didn't think he had the school skills. And he really got his confidence up with that. He got to try a couple majors and then realized, I don't think this works. I don't know if there's jobs there. And he was working part-time as a data entry person in human resources. He got really interested in human resources, so he picked a major, and he went to a school, St. Thomas More. He got a 4-year degree. And he went to a school that's like McDaniel College here, Hood, Loyola. It's a private school, very good school. He has student debts. And he gets out and he calls me and says, wow, Aunt Kate, this is my nephew Tim. I've never got enough money. I don't understand how I don't have enough money. And I'm like, well, do you know how much you spend? He's like, no. Do you know what you spend it on? Why don't you just track what you spend every month and look at it 3 or 4 months? And then see why you don't have enough money, because you got this great, he worked for one of the biggest investment companies. He had a beautiful, the tallest building in Minneapolis. He had a window desk. He could look out across the whole city, and he couldn't pay his bills. And so he does this for a couple of months, and he calls and he says, let's talk about this. Oh my God. I said, just make a list. It's like, wow, who knew? Hey, I need a car. I need a car to get to work. I love music. I need to go to concerts. I need to go to bars, meet my friends. And I need that car. I am driving the junkiest car, and I saw it, and I took a ride in it. It was the oldest, junkiest car. But it was $2,900. He had to pay the loan off on it. He has to pay gas every week. You got to have car insurance. They won't let you drive it. And that cost him, as you can see, about $300 or $400. He didn't buy a nice car. This is just to drive. He, $1,000. Doesn't that look like a lot of money? Shouldn't you be living somewhere nice? Well, a good apartment would probably cost $1,500 to $2,000. He got a really very small apartment, and then he got a roommate. They didn't like all that much, but he needed to cover the rent. But then he had to heat it, and then he had they wanted to get cable because they wanted to pay for television, and pretty soon he's paying $1,000. And that is inexpensive. He wasn't living anywhere really glamorous. He then wanted to socialize. Oh, he needed to eat, and he's a big guy. He's 6 foot tall, unlike me. So he had to pay a couple $100s a month for food, and then he wanted to go out once in a while and wanted to pay for a meal, so he had 4 meals in his budget because that's what he had looked at. And then he had a cat. Gosh darn it, the cat needs litter. He had to buy it. Needed the phone, and it ends up, it cost him, he was taking out cash for $2,300 a month, which was a problem because he's only making $24,000 after taxes. And that amount of money is a $55,000 job. Doesn't $55,000 sound great? And my nephew can't afford a car. He can't afford a new bed that he really wanted. And I got talking to him of, hey, are you dating someone? How are you paying for dates? He's like, I'm not sure I can afford my girlfriend. So what he did in the short term was he moved into a room with his roommate in a house where 7 guys were living. So it was, no offense guys, some of you might be neat, but it wasn't. There's no privacy, but he saved a couple $100. And then you're trying to figure out where more you save. No, now you're starting to think of, can I make more? How do I make more? And the more he looked for jobs, he was finding nothing that paid more. My dad had told him, take some accounting classes. And so he went and took some night accounting classes. And he didn't get a degree in it, but he got more background, and then he knew someone who introduced him to a job he absolutely loves. And his job is, he does HR, but he also does all the business things for a very trend-setting nonprofit. A new trend or a trend just happening in certain cities is to give them a home first, give them an apartment, pay their bills for them, and then help them look for a job instead of the reverse. And so he rents all the apartments, he pays all the rents, he pays all the the gas, electric. Loves his job. His boss gives him a lot of leeway. He's helping people. He's connected to the struggling parts of his city. He feels more of a community member. And he can afford a girlfriend now. But you can see how when people tell you what do people make a year, break it down to a month and really start thinking about it, because gosh darn it, go say thanks to your parents, because living is expensive. And if you want to live with, have an aspiration for a better car, he told me once he thought he would never buy a house. He bought a house last year. He told me that for years. That feeling of I can't find jobs, I'm frustrated, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to be worth it. Many of his friends, he told me his friends were like two categories. The ones that had no training or taken some classes that, or got degrees that weren't that sellable. He knew a lot of waiters. He knew a lot of people working at the mall. Look at those salaries, $1,700. Are they having their own apartment? Are they buying a new car? Are they on a Verizon plan, or are they on the plan my nephew was on, the month-to-month minimum minutes plan? And so you want to think about what gets you, that might be fine and good, but where do you want to go? Because you're going to be working for 40 or 50 years. STEM jobs. Again, if you'd be a nurse, $6,000. Does that help to pay all those bills? Accountant, he didn't even get a degree, but if he gets more, he's in the track, he's got enough background that he works with accountants and keeps numbers. Software developer. $9,000. That's about $80,000. So what kind of car, if you were a software developer, what kind of car do you start thinking about? New or used? Well, gosh, yes, please get new. Do you need a roommate? No, and sometimes you like roommates, and some days you just need some downtime. So it gives you options about what you can do for pleasure. Can you go on a vacation? Yeah, so you can go on a vacation. You can be an IT administrator, because now restaurants need IT people. Colleges need IT people. They got me set up here today. And they are going to be making enough to have an apartment and get a nice car. If you are, if you don't want a 4-year degree and you go get more of the technician-oriented work, technicians make in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. Good job, secure, you're always on your feet doing interesting things. So again, why STEM? Well, look where this is, could be you in a couple of years. Do you want to have some options? And do you want to wear cool sunglasses? Oh, okay, you can wear the cool sunglasses in here. So now Tim has a girlfriend. Now Tim actually gave some money to his mother. I'm going to put that over in the corner because she needed some help. And he has more options, vacation, etc. When I look at this chart, the other thing I think about is, wow, again, that theme of everything that you touch has tech people behind it. Flowers, they have to refrigerate, they have to ship. A lot of our flowers come from overseas now because engineers, technicians, refrigeration people have figured out how to do that. They can grow larger volumes. Your PC, you already know there's a lot of tech jobs behind it, but even repairing them or selling them needs some background. So when people talk about STEM to you, think about, hey, this isn't just about choices and job, but choices of what I do for a long time, choices of my lifestyle. And my biggest thing was security. My dad lost his job in a recession. My mom never graduated from high school. She was working as at the cash register at the local gift shop in the hospital. I really wanted security. I wanted to stop worrying about all the bills all the time and wondering how I'm going to make them. And I feel totally blessed. I save a lot of money. I feel secure. If anything happens in my job or my project, whatever, I know I've got savings. I know I can go and find something. And that was a big thing for me. So, going to tell you about a couple more friends, just to reinforce the thought of you can get here many ways, and there's many places you can go, and there's many things you can do with the paths you pick. This is Dwight. Dwight's a friend of mine. Dwight goes to Morgan State University, and the way I met Dwight is Dwight mentors a team of middle schoolers in a very poor section of Baltimore to do Science Olympiad tournament. And he does that because he's a big, hard person, but he also got that choice because he needed financial aid. He grew up in Prince George's County, his family hadn't gone to college, and for federal work study, you have to work as part of that. And he got to pick mentoring kids as his job. And to do that, that helped pay for school. So some days I'd be coming in and we'd be talking about how to build rockets. And he's like, wow, I have an exam in world religions and I should have bought the book. I'm like, okay, that's hard to help you with. But when he went to electrical engineering courses, he actually graduated, he looked at jobs. Jobs are hard to find for college graduates. I'm not going to fool you. I'm not going to say it's easy as a roll off the log when you get out. You have to go apply a lot of places, even with engineering and STEM degrees. You have no experience, jobs are tight, but you will find one. And that's the encouraging part. And what happened to him is he got a big scholarship to do cybersecurity. And so now he's in graduate school and most of it's getting paid for. Cybersecurity is about hackers. He wants to stop hackers getting into Target store, getting all my information, getting into government text database, getting all your information and your information. And he thinks that's exciting and there's a lot of jobs. He wants to be where if he doesn't like his boss or the project, he can find another place. And his salary coming out for electrical engineers will be $84,000. $84,000, this is where I had you all do math. No, I'm kidding. It's about $7,000 a month. So, Dwight has an old junky car that runs 3/4 of the time. Can Dwight buy a new car when he gets up and starts working? Good, because he needs it. The last person I'm going to introduce you to is a friend of mine, Melissa. And Melissa Faulkner got out of school 3 years ago. She went to college, she's from Texas, and she said, I loved all kinds of things. I didn't know what I was doing. I like sports photography. I love taking pictures of the football team. I think I want to be a gourmet cook. I kept floating that idea at home. That didn't work real great. But I really love cooking, and I thought that might be what I really want to do. And she thought she was all over the place, but again, remember, being all over the place is not a bad thing. It means you're going to be able to adapt and be interested in a lot. You just have to figure out what to pick and move forward. And so she went to a college career counselor, and she heartily recommends it. If they don't say something good to you, talk to another counselor or professor. And they finally suggested engineering, and she gave it a try. And again, she says, I'm not the nerd. I didn't think I was going to do engineering my whole life, but it's been great and it's so interesting. A big thing for me, she said, was that she didn't want to sit at a desk. This was a big concern to her. So she got a job at a company called Textron. How many people have heard of Textron? Yeah, hardly anybody. I didn't know what it was. She said, well, have you heard of Bell Helicopter? They bought Bell Helicopter. Her first job was she got to ride on helicopters. Okay, that's my version of it. But she didn't get to ride on helicopters, and she worked on blade designs to optimize it so it used less gas. They're always trying to design things to use less gas. The military will pay you to use less gas because they have 10,000 helicopters. It's a lot of gas they're buying. And she said that was great. Textron was a company that said, we want you to have a lot of experiences before you settle into one phase. You're in a rotation program, and we're going to help you get confidence and leadership to transition into the job world. So she's in this great program, and the next thing they got her in was golf carts. And I said, wait, you actually work as an engineer in golf carts? What needs to be engineered in golf carts? And they're actually making ones that have tail lights, and she worked on the tail light. But again, my favorite part, did she get to drive around in golf carts? How many people have driven around in a golf cart? It's actually super, super fun. You can go sideways, you can do tight turns, and that's, she got paid to do that. Then she went through that rotation, and she got to work in what is in Maryland. The Maryland office builds mostly drones. They do a number of other things, but she's making drones that fly over places like Iraq and Afghanistan, so we don't have to use pilots who could get shot down. And yet we can see if any bad guys are going near our embassies or planting bombs. I worked on drones that try to stop people doing the IED planting of bombs in remote roads. And she's having a lot of fun. She works with a team. The product she works on gets fielded. She gets to go out to the field. They're always trying to make it better. And so, does she sound like she sits down a lot? Does it sound like she's over here? And what's on my head is hard to see, but it's a crab hat. And that big blue thing is a giant crab. And the guy in the purple was an engineer at Lockheed Martin. He goes, this isn't really clicking for me. I like it, it's okay, but this isn't what I was meant to do. And now he's a middle school science teacher. And he thought the kids should compete in this kinetic race where you have to build a bicycle-powered vehicle. It's a lot of adults, it's a lot of artists, it's downtown Baltimore. We're the only children's entries. But watching those kids get so excited about, they didn't like the math class. I had one girl trying to say, she doesn't need math for anything. I said, what is she going to work? And she said a masseuse. She's going to open her own massage partner. I'm like, great, what are you going to charge? How much tip do you want? Do you know what your taxes are? And her whole face imploded. That's what I did for fun. This is a vehicle that goes there. But I do it because I'm so excited if you have the opportunities I had. If you had ended up with, oh my gosh, we're going to buy a house, I'm going to have a heart attack, but you knew you had an income that was going to be coming in for the next couple of years. If you were able to take the vacations I have taken, I've been to communist China, I have been to the world's highest waterfall in Venezuela, I have been to the highest peak in Colorado. I hope that for you. I want you to feel like you have choices, but I want you to know it's hard, it's worth it. There's a lot of paths to get there, but it's so good to have choices, and I hope for many opportunities and choices, good choices for you, and thank you so much for letting me speak. Hi, go ahead.
Hi, so I teach math at Frederick Community College, and I've noticed in my upper level math classes that the number of girls get less, but man, are they good at math compared to all the boys in the room. So I just wanted you to talk about like your experience in college, having been surrounded by mostly, I would say, male classmates, and how that went for you.
Huge national trend in America. Girls falling off after 8th grade. My niece, one example, I have another niece doing the same thing. Great at math, good at science, good overall student. They get to high school, I'm like, I don't like math, I'm no good at it. And I'm like, wow, I thought I knew you, I don't even know who you are. But it's a big national trend, it's not cool. When you look at movies, girls aren't the one doing the math, it's the guys, the smart guys, walking around solving the problems, working the computer. Big national problem. If you go to countries in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, the number of engineers and women in chemistry and math are half or more. It's totally different than the United States. This is a cultural thing, it's not an ability thing. Girls score as well or better at math and science. Guys are good too. Why do we have this crazy drop-off? And I think it's a lot about what your friends perceive, what you think is fun. People keep telling you, probably my least favorite line is, find your passion. I have a 48-year-old sister.
I'm also supposed to tell you that during lunch, Carol...
These are typical users. Hello to the camera.
And that's a typical makerspace, and you find that in the Fab Lab or the Foundry or various other makerspaces. In fact, I'm the technical advisor for a makerspace in Hagerstown. But BUGS, Baltimore Underground Science Society, is a...
Who are you with?
You're by yourself? Citizen scientist, they call them. Like there's this guy that wants to, that's an artist, and he's really interested in the relationship between
ink, for lack of a better word. And it's UV sensitive, so you expose it to UV light and it cures. Depending on the chemistry, it'll either cure like a rigid plastic or it'll cure, I mean, in some cases, this material here is roughly the consistency of a gummy bear. So it's, yeah, so you can, when it cures, it doesn't become porous, right? That would probably be a problem. The materials you're talking about here, they're watertight.
They roll out. They literally just did the
You know we're in
I know, you know how you do it. Yeah, a couple of times. No, yeah, he was in class. Yeah. He stopped by for a one-on-one session.
You see this? You see this? Okay. This tells you everything's on this tablet. All right, so it's run off of this. The data is captured in real time, so you could go back and see all the steps. It's like doing real time without the expense of, you know, primers or probes, whatever. So this is I'm not quite sure it'll capture your amplification though. It'll capture your steps. So, and it's driven off of this thing. So you set it up, you can save it. So, you know, the expensive ones, the thermocyclers, you got to program it on there, right? And so you program it on here, the students are more adapt.
One idea we had was like a 5-week program where everybody's required to kind of go through something, but as they go through it, those that
Like to learn about Grand Canyon University?
Those that are not doing well have to either insert a new problem and not allowed to continue until they get past that, or create a follow-up test. Here's something in a good way.
Oh boy. Awesome. As they take in the posters, because I have to. Yeah. Yep, there they go. Look at them go. Oh, cool. All right. All right. Ends it one?
No.
Yeah. 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left. Well, two and a half.
Courses in your field that you struggled in?
Organic chemistry.
All right, thermodynamics. I got a really bad grade, I don't even want to say that. But everything else was okay.
Actually, for me, it's social science. So
okay.
sociology, psychology. I'm a math person. I like math, physics, chemistry. So for me, if I can't put in a formula, it was really difficult. Science and mathematics, that was hard. It's still hard because I can't relate to it. But so I think one of the skills that you need to develop as a student that I can recommend, know your weaknesses and strengths. Try to do a self-assessment. This is what I tell my students. Okay, we've done, let's say, statistics. We've done this chapter. Now, what are you going to do now? Go home, think about it, assess yourself. How well did you understand hypothesis testing? Tell it to yourself, not me. If you can't be really honest with yourself, then you say, all right, I got it. Well, maybe not. Then I need to go and work a little bit harder. So really self-assessment, and I know it sounds like such a generic term, but it's important because then you can focus on the right thing, on the right topic, on the right subject.
And I think I want to add to that I did double major, so one is master's in physics and then master's in biological sciences. So biology was such an easy walk after physics. I can't even tell you. So I did the physics. I did pretty good, but when I did biology, I was like, wow, this is so easy. So I, by letting myself explore and allowing that exploration, I think that's something that I I would suggest all of you to do, let yourself explore. And if you have an opportunity in NASA and you are doing biology, it's okay, just try it. Maybe that's what is for you. So that's something to try.
I also have something to add to that. I was a double major, I was computer science.
Okay.
And I didn't find those classes difficult. I did really well, but they were boring to me. So, and I dropped it. And there was nothing wrong with it. I felt really bad actually, because I didn't know that here you can just drop a major. In Belarus where I'm from, you don't do that. You just cannot do that. So when I came to my department chair and I said, I don't think I want to do it, he was completely fine with it. And I had this shock that he didn't yell at me. Okay. So I stopped taking the classes, not because I was bad.
A school that's right across from our community college, and everyone in high school would call it 13th grade. So, and if you didn't go to an actual university, you were like looked down on. And so I want to be a principal, so how as a principal do you think I could have an impact on the students and their view of community colleges as an actual option and not like a settling point, because that's what it was viewed as.
Yeah, as a community college student, I mean, it is an option, and it's one that you weigh with all the other options that you have. The stigma usually comes from those who didn't go to a community college.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, so those who go to the community college realize what the value is, how stellar the programs are, and how personal the relationships you have with your faculty and the staff that run the college and running with you, provide that learning opportunity for you. So I guess for you to, you would then be the spokesperson for a community college, because you could say, I was the product of a community college and I can attest to the value and that it is a point that can take you somewhere. And it may not be the choice for everyone, but you could offer the suggestion that it is one of those options it's a personal experience. So that's the other part. It's a personal experience.
I'll give you my personal family experience. My daughter was in the 11th grade and I started working in the community college and I said, no, you're going to be dual enrolled, you're going to come and take classes. So she came over to the community college, and while her mates were doing 12th grade, she had already covered 1 year in college. And then she finished 2 years doing the biotechnology program in our college. And that automatically, we have a MOU with University of Maryland to do the medical research technology. So while her mates were still applying for college, she was already in UMB. She graduated from UMB. May, she got admitted to Georgetown. She graduated last year from Georgetown with a master's. Right now she's working for an international agency in DC. So her mates were asking her, what shortcut did you use? How did you get to where you are? We're still finishing up her first degree. So she is a good ambassador and a spokesperson for the journey through a community college. So it's all about what you do in the next level and what you take it to, and tell the story of how you came through a community college and how it helped. Because without that 2 year, first it was cheap for me, obviously. She came out with no student loan. I paid for it. And she got a scholarship in Georgetown, full scholarship. So that's what we're saying, that the community college helps you. First, you develop confidence. You have small class size, where you have a good interaction with your professors. And then the mentoring is much more personalized in a community college. And you take that experience into the 4-year institution. So that's my personal story, the story of community college. So don't let anybody ever tell you that we are 13th grade.
School for 2 reasons: because it's cheap, because up to the high school you have a mindset that your education doesn't cost anything, and when you go into the college you suddenly are hit with that bill. You are the student or the parents, somebody's got hit, right? So that's first thing, that it still doesn't cost that much, so that shock is not there. The class size is small, just like the high school, so students who haven't made up their mind about what they want to become, that's the best place to go, because then they can, try different things without costing too much, time and money both, and it's a very comfortable way to have that transition. So I actually tell students that you still feel like you are in the high school because you still are pampered. You know, your teachers, you have one-to-one contact with your instructor. You know, you can go and sit down in the office, which you can't, it's not possible in a 4-year school. When you are in a freshman class and you have 350 students, you are never going to see your professor. So this is a good way to get pampered and get the college education. So that's what I tell high school students.
I like that word, pampered.
They are used to that, you know, they get so used to having that one-to-one contact with the teacher.
Right now is passion is fine, I'm okay with that, but make sure that that passion is able to pay your bills.
Don't limit yourself. I always tell my students, never, ever limit yourself. Always keep your options open and always get educated and network. Network, read what other people are doing, and when you find out what other people are doing at network events and conferences like this, you'll find your passion.
Yeah, stay curious. That's, I mean, I think science is just curiosity. And so often...
Inquisitive.
Sometimes we don't see that in students, and when you see, you know, when students are questioning and they're asking and they're curious and they're wondering about things, you might find that you can tie together your physical therapy interest along with the cancer stuff and create something that maybe doesn't exist already. So, I mean, I think curiosity is really important to just keep sparking it.
Okay,
Not only following the passion, you need to give your level best to that. You need to give 100% dedication to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Tech, connected. C-Tech.
Dr. Larida, you left your bag.
Oh my God.
So, not this summer? So
It's Emmanuel. I left my bag.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you. Because I was like asking.
So where did you go to school?
In Glasgow.
It's really cool. I wouldn't really know only thinking was one field, so I wouldn't.
Share that story with you. Ignited your passion.
People in the class, what am I supposed to do? Everything is falling apart. So you just kind of hold on. You know, things will fall in place. Just that first semester is tough. You know, the transition is tough. Just kind of hold on, and things are going to be okay.
Yes, sir.
As someone who graduated from a small liberal arts college, I think our undergraduate population is probably no more than 1,000. I definitely appreciate a lot of that small class size experience, but I also counterbalance that with I didn't feel as connected with opportunities to advance and grow because there's not as much infrastructure in a really small college. So that's something that, yeah, like I've had bigger class sizes with Dr. Wadabushi, but she's made me feel very connected to the industry. Like I have a possibility of growing that I never had in like my like senior level bio courses where it's like 3 people.
And that's a great point, and that kind of brings us to like why we have these kind of conferences.
Yeah.
Everything gets together.
I think we'll go ahead and finish the session, and now we're going to the poster session.
So now just student presentation.
Yeah.
But I have to talk to Roger himself to be coming because I need mine too. But do you know how people are getting receipts for this? How people are getting receipts? If they come today.
I want to say like that because I'm doing so many things.
Yeah, that sounds very fancy.
Cool. These came out really good. Yeah. Colors.
You can put, this is like the basics. Hopefully they can go into applying, like putting cameras on it and stuff like that. And then they can control it from outside the body, so you can walk around and do stuff. And it's just a concept that they're developing. It hasn't actually been applied yet. So that's just like, I just did the math for how, I applied one of the mathematical formulas for origami on their robot. But the thing about origami is there's a lot of different applications that you can do with it. Like NASA uses it a lot with their telescopes. The unfolding of telescopes, it goes through. Right now they're releasing a telescope into space that's...
Yes, they do it as well. So then I surveyed their services, and then a few of the changes this semester, the rest will be implemented next semester, like sending more here. But basically you're going to have that's it. So my part is one.
Not this time. I did last year. I was like, I mean, I thought about it for a few seconds, but this semester has been really, really busy for me. And I was like, come to the meeting.
Yes.
But
Spring semester is very busy.
please let me know. Sure.
So we are comparing with our college. We don't have HPLCR. We have IR, right?
Yeah, we have.
FTIR.
And you can do a lot. Yeah, the IR, the UV, you can do a lot with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why one of our students did similar type of work, isolated the compound, and he got it.
Yes, everything else is done.
That's good for me.
Yes.
So, like, because when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, so that means there's a lot of titanium and a little nickel. And he's like, no, that doesn't mean anything.
I think titanium oxide they use it for the
So
what's the
I think you revised. I think. Yes.
Oh, okay. So this, you started it, and then she followed up on it. I see. Okay, able to finish it. Yeah. Do you guys know each other?
Yes. She taught me chemistry over the summer.
So I think you guys.
in terms of the test? I really want to know
more about
what is in the water that makes the water to get that such a test. Just when you put it in the mouth, it smells somehow. You can't even want you don't want to take it. And there are some that you just test it. Oh my gosh!
No, it's a huge difference from work and schools into schoolwork. So that was a big thing for me to learn. It's okay to fail. So that was good. Also, I haven't done any Westerns before, so I had to completely learn the process for doing a Western. I'd already done gels with proteins, but I haven't taken nucleic acids or immunology yet. So it was interesting learning the different techniques.
This formula answers that question. And the way that he figured it was that he started with 1 and 100, added those together, and then started with 2 and 99, added those together, and as they moved closer and closer, he figured out that they were all the same, so he just multiplied by the amount of numbers there, and the answer just popped out. And that's what this formula utilizes.
Yeah, so n would be the number that you're trying to find, so it would be 100 times 100 plus 1 divided by 2.
So I usually right? Where AK and BK and CK and those are Pythagorean triples that are being formed in that way. Any value of K, any value of N. According to that, I can plug that in and get a Pythagorean triple.
Get a Pythagorean triple. Now, we're not going to guarantee that's going to be a primitive Pythagorean triple, but if the stipulation is that 2K plus 1 and N are relatively prime, then it will be a primitive Pythagorean triple as well.
Or if in any case that N is a power of 2, or number of the dots, it's also guaranteed to be all relatively.
So, but yes, any K and N, you are guaranteed to get a Pythagorean triple, for sure.
So how you derive that? Give me a short version.
Sure. So, we kind of actually just fell out one day. We were originally looking at the certain subsets of Pythagorean triples based on the B and the C, and
tip, pentagon, and then you add different layers and add all those dots together, and it's giving you the next number. So what we did was, as you might know, if we take the square numbers, if we take the triangular numbers and we square two consecutive numbers and we subtract from each other, we're going to end up with something squared. Like for example,
It was
3
kind
and
of just
6
one day
are the second and third
looking at a board
triangular
of
numbers.
different subsets, and we met for about an hour weekly to do research with the professor.
Out of 2,
Like, the last 15 minutes of that research session, we were just like scrambling, kind of getting
Yeah, because
his trial and error, and then eventually it was like, okay, we got it. And then we actually had to run into class after that. Get there on time.
It was very hard to focus that day. We were very excited. So.
We thought about what
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the ways you end up deriving these things sometimes is a very roundabout way, you know, sometimes you ain't really direct, you know.
We worked on the foundation, build our way up, so I was going to take that idea and continue from there.
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah, for example, this gene right here, we didn't successfully transform into E. coli. The plasmid was put into the E. coli, but UMPG was, for some reason, not in the plasmid. We're still trying to figure out exactly why, but like she said, it's trial and error, and eventually we'll figure out how to put it into the plasmid.
UMPG is already in it, so we might not even need that in the first place. It's already in it.
Yeah. So Wabi and UMPG are naturally occurring in E. coli. They make precursors for, age.
For degradation?
Yeah,
No, actually, the thing is that like it's not polyubiquinated, but monoubiquinated. So ubiquitin actually, it regulates the
degradation, right?
ubiquitin.
So further research would be to actually know a bit more about that as well, right?
It's clean now.
75. Oh, really?
Well, yeah, it's clean. We have a new president, and you have the EPA website. There's no science at all anymore. It's all clean.
I know they pull a lot of the funding.
I'm sorry.
I'm
She knows. They're sarcastic. So I have a question. What is this US EPA method 1600 for doing? And did you just do like a standard play count? How did you actually get your numbers?
I mean, it's your favorite agar, so you might as well talk about it.
So I'll try to condense everything, but basically Method 1600 was a procedure that was laid out specifically by the EPA to measure the colony-forming units of enterococci. They use E. coli and enterococci, and they actually set the standards based on the type of water and what it's used for. Deer Creek, it's all freshwater, and they're designated beaches. So according to the EPA, 61 CFU, or colony-forming units, per 100.
If you need to network with people or talk or get equipment that you might not have access to because you guys are, because we're all community college people, then just FYI, because they're local, they're in Baltimore just like you guys.
Oh, okay.
So.
Is it restricted just to community college students?
No, it's open to the whole community. So they've got PhD level scientists there, they've got people with bachelors, they've got...
Do you remember my... Did you look it up?
Yeah, so it happens in different regions of the brain. So if you want to fix it, you cannot just focus on one area. You have to think, because there's chemistry involved, how the neurons travel from one place to another, how the brains get formed. So there's many different areas to work together in order to understand what really causes autism. And still to this day, we don't know what is the main source of it. We only know parts of it. And that's why we're trying to understand better. It is pretty fascinating, and it's helping kids with autism, which is very passionate. Yeah. Aren't they smart? She's really smart, isn't she? Well, there is the school, the Osman Institute that you understand, where they have kids with autism and the parents come and with them. How to help your kids improve in socialize and how to like study and how to like be calm. Because sometimes they just, when there's too many people, they just get frustrated and they cannot stand it, so they get
Oh yeah, I've had the four.
To go around each one. So yeah.
How's it going?
No, just after this is lunch and then we leave.
We focus more on the inner harbor because that's where most of the people are in the inner harbor. So what we found was we had a video from the cholera family, which induces vomiting and diarrhea. So that was what we did as per now. That's what I have been able to do right now. So these were our future directions where we wanted to do a classroom. So involve the biotechnique units.
Where did you find the most bacteria here?
In the inner harbor. Inner harbor and Fort McHenry.
Fort McHenry.
Yeah, that's where we found it. In tap water there was nothing. So that's a good sign.
So that's a good sign. People will live there.
Yeah,
I think we can. Visual always helps, you know.
Yeah, we sometimes do that, but then we saw it kind of messy.
Don't worry about it, don't worry about it. You can at least just show the beads, you know, without the cells going in there. So this is that. And what you can also do is you can bring one of these tips, the 25 gauge, how narrow or thin that is. And that should not be a messy because you can use that. So that can serve as your props.
Right.
And always people like that, you know, if they can see a prop, that works better.
That's true, because it's hard to visualize how small 25
If we just add to that, like mammalian cell culture is not something students learn in extremely important.
Right.
If we can have them do something like this, they not only learn, but they actually get jobs based on that. My students have got jobs based on
I work at the actual experience. Because when they talk about this is actual experience,
Yes, actual
not that
experience,
they
not
did a lab
just-
experiment.
not a lab experiment,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They do it many
That's what I'm saying. So this is much better than that.
So they, in the lab they do it once, they do learn it, but this needs 6 months to
gravitational wave passes on Earth, a part of it gonna shrink. Like let's say part of it's gonna shrink, the other side gonna extend. So the arm, what's gonna happen is that one of them gonna shrink, the other one's gonna extend. So they're gonna have shift in frequency. Therefore, they're gonna have a light to go to the light detectors. And then they have gotten the frequency. And Finn's gonna talk to you about the method.
Okay, so these are, they actually use two LIGO detectors, one in Washington and one in Louisiana, to test their frequency and the slight shift. I want to get better frequency. So they use the Chirp-Master equation, which is used to calculate binary systems. So like in our case, it's two binary numbers. And then, so this part of the equation is derived from Einstein's field equation. Do you know what the final mass was?
And now with the modern day technology, we are now trying to say, yes, it does exist. And it's not only existence, but you're showing proof of it, right? This is basically the proof.
I think in the future, we will need more sensitive instruments to detect those gravitational waves that are farther away. So we need great engineers and scientists.
And mathematics.
How do you know there's not some other possible explanation?
Well, I think in their paper, they said that
has GABA A receptors. You can see how high concentrated it is in the brain, and in autism you can see like the concentration is very low. So that made us think what causes it, and that's what we're trying to understand in different areas of the brain, because this is the hippocampus. It's in the middle central, the central front part of the brain. We're trying to get more tissue that has the basal ganglia and the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part, and the cerebellum, which is the back, and the gyrus, fungus gyrus, which is like the before, like the end of the brain. So we're just trying to like see how different areas of the brain are affected by this imbalance of the two systems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what was one of the main challenges of the experience?
Well, okay. So I started as an internship, and when I first got there, I was like, we had this journal club, and one of the postdocs was present.
Cyber Green we really didn't have. So Fast Blast is a DNA staining gel, DNA stain that is available, I think, through Biorad. And again, the stain preferentially stains DNA. So it's just not as sensitive as Ethidium or Cyber Green. So our bands were not always easy to detect. For example,
Ladies and gentlemen, incredible time here at the STEM Festival, one of the best, and we came fully loaded. The whole bus was full.
Yeah, absolutely.
The really cute people smile.
Yeah.
There you go, good. See you, man. Everybody just give a wave or a thumbs up. Can you hold your phone? Hey, man. You got it? Yeah.
Dad, come on.
Oh, Todd.
Wait, which one are we looking at?
Both at the same time. Ready to go. Okay.
I can't do it.
My calves hurt on my tippy toes. Yes, it's record. Do you see record?
Yeah, just press delete.
Come leave.
I got it. Press delete. I don't do cross.
Can we get up?
It's okay to cross. Now press delete all.
Is it a video? Is it a selfie? I can't stare at this guy, so his chance is right there. Yeah, I blinked.
Snapchat.
Thank you guys.
Is it done?
BCC.
Let me sit my back. Come on.
Plenty of room behind.
Back my bush, get over here.
One more time. One more time.
Oh, one more
You
time.
were covering the.
Yeah.
Hey, young man, make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we switch now?
Did you check the photos? Hey, he got one more. He has one more. Oh, okay. Now, bio check. That's bio check.
Is that on you?
You need to get in there.
I'm ready to get everybody then. He's photobombing my picture.
Another time, say now, Dr. Raza.
Everybody's B-Triple-C is the best. Good shot. Good shot.
Hey, good.
Anybody?
I don't even know what it is. It's just a box.
Second door prize. Second prize.
Oh, there's two.
There's another one. We have one more for Panera.
9. We didn't check. Everybody, let's go outside. Let's take a look at the science. Wizard, that's it. Professor Wizard. Not Mr.
Wait, I had service for 2 seconds and I lost it.
It's the mother of all experience.
For a while. Let's see what the trying to do all of it.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
As you can see, we're wearing the same shirt. We are a team. We are Professor Wizard. And we have been... And now you're actually going to be able to see what I was firing. See, now I can aim. Oh, boy.
Yeah, now I feel it.
Now you feel it. Because now I also know where it's going myself, okay? So you works this well, how well this guy's going to work. And so we're going to see.
Stand back.
Bigger, effect. More, effect. Most, not all.
Whoa.
Oh, the wind.
The wind is.
Oh, but actually they're still staying pretty...
Yeah, they are.
Oh, hey, baseball players, they could go throw curveballs like
Hey,
this.
hit the camera. I'm right in here.
Oh my gosh, that wind's
The
playing.
wind is taking it.
That is neat.
For the camera. Oh, gee whiz.
Oh, it's windy.
Oh, the wind.
Go the other way, go the other way.
That's neat.
I don't Well, no, I think we should forbid it.
How many versions?
12. Now, stand on it.
Hydrogen peroxide?
Hydrogen peroxide. And then we're going to put a little soap in it. That's what everybody wants. They want the boom. Okay, so we got a nice solution here. And now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go over to the tarp. Are we ready?
Whoa.
It didn't work quite as well as...
The blood. Hydrogen peroxide and soap.
We call this elephant toothpaste. It didn't work quite as well as we anticipated, but
it worked fine.
It worked.
What did you use?
Oh, this is potassium iodide.
And
You could also
already in the class was peroxide.
You could also use we're going to use this. It's coffee in a, so it's good coffee in a thermos. As you can see, it's very hot. It's boiling. It is liquid nitrogen. Now, what can we do with liquid nitrogen? Well, a lot of things, but obviously we don't have that much time. So let me show you one thing that we can do. We have this nice big balloon. Do you see any air in it? Well, the air is in there, right? But now I'm going to make it visible. Notice what's happening to the balloon. And now if you look at the bottom, there's a liquid. You see the liquid on the bottom? That's liquid breath. Now notice what happens when it rewarms. The balloon may pop. And the air is no longer a liquid. Okay, so that's what you can do with liquid nitrogen. I do have a little demo that I like with liquid nitrogen. That's all right. That's right. Have you ever seen what happens to a cracker in liquid nitrogen? Have you ever witnessed this? This is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to dip it in here. Oh yeah, you can see it's actually boiling. Okay, the liquid nitrogen is boiling because the cracker is very hot compared to it. And now notice, isn't this fantastic? Have you ever seen a cracker that looks like this? I haven't either. Now you might be wondering, did I put liquid nitrogen in my mouth? No, I didn't. You notice that I made you watch it for a while. I was waiting for all the liquid nitrogen to have evaporated before I stuck it in my mouth. If I were to drink liquid nitrogen, my mouth would freeze instantly. So that, we certainly would not want to do that. Okay. So now for our last thing, we're going to take a whole lot of liquid nitrogen.
You're going to do flour?
Oh!
Team, it's a team.
It's a team.
I
What is a
bought 'em,
flour?
so it's
I know.
like, you know.
She bought them.
Don't make my trip for nothing.
So what happens to a flour when you put them?
Solid.
Now notice how soft they are here. Oh, they're cute. They're beautiful. And it still looks kind of beautiful. Oh, well.
I shouldn't have said anything. That way I could have kept
Yeah, I know.
You could have flowers, yeah. You could have flowers. There's 4 more.
Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take all the liquid nitrogen that we have. We're going to put it in. And we're going to put close to 15 liters of liquid nitrogen in this bucket. That's a lot of liquid nitrogen. No, not well. It's not cheap.
These 2 bottles are $71.
No, that's not bad.
Together.
Sandy, I think I need goggles. They're over there. Good. Gentlemen, I would suggest that you not be here. As a matter of fact, you gentlemen, I would suggest.
Do what?
I would suggest
Back
that
up.
it's right now boiling. It's very cold. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bucket, which contains very hot water. And I'm going to pour the hot water into the liquid nitrogen. Things are going to happen.
Listen in addition to watching, but make sure you listen to it.
Are we ready? Cameras better be ready. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa. Oh. Ooh. Oh. Wow. That was good.
All right. And if we look, there's still some in there. It's cold, isn't it?
How about people use boats to make like tornadoes?
Give him a hand, give him a hand. That was neat.
I know, that was the quickest show we've ever done.
Incredible conference, Dr. Razahan. Give us an idea, this third STEM conference, incredible. Give us an idea of what this was about, or how important was it?
Yes, so the third conference is to bring the students and the faculty in different areas of STEM from different community colleges, and also invite the partnering four-year institution and also our sponsoring vendors who come in and help us out. The event is designed to showcase both the student work in terms of presentations. They do both poster presentations and also oral presentations. That's the highlight of the day for the morning, followed by the professional development activities for our faculty and staff in STEM areas in the afternoon.
And why is this so important for the students? Because we saw some incredible posters.
Yeah, so you saw a really good poster of the students because as a community college, and I can say this for both the Carroll and the statewide group, we don't have that much funds to take our students to national conferences. As you're aware, national conferences can cost you somewhere to $3 to $5 grand just to attend, let alone present at the conferences. So we wanted to showcase our student work in terms of presentations. There are few regional conferences, but they are very localized, and so the whole idea came into fruition that we should have a venue where we can showcase our student work in a statewide setting.
Governor Hogan was pretty really adamant about the importance of STEM, and he supported this particular event. How important was that?
Yeah, it was very, very nice of both Governor Hogan and also of Commissioner Vance from Carroll County to support the event. We do know that STEM is a buzzword these days, but it is befitting that Governor Hogan sends a letter of congratulations for the conference. And I do believe because STEM, Maryland is in a hub center for STEM fields.
And last question, Carroll County Community College has been leading this effort really for a while. Some of the students are going on to win national awards. How important is you've been in Carroll Community College? How important is Carroll County, this community college, played in this thing?
So Carroll Community College is really vested into STEM fields. I can say that as I'm division chair of sciences, and I'm also was one of the STEM club advisors. I think Carroll Community College has been a forefront leader. We were one of the very few community colleges that brought in the STEM research into our academics. We have a STEM scholars program. We have been invited to a lot of other STEM initiatives locally, regionally, and nationally. Our students have presented abroad also. But I think it is beyond Carroll. It is to bring in the students from all the community colleges in Maryland in a collaborative manner. I think the key word for this conference is the collaboration that happens between the students, the faculty, and the staff, and that's the key here. You know, when we come in together, and if you were here this afternoon, where you saw the students and the faculty together, and you're presenting in a conference, that's a big deal for our students, because if we are to be their mentors, we have to showcase them outside the classroom. I think this is a perfect venue to show them outside the classroom in a statewide setting, and Carroll is proud to host this event this year.
And last question, usually community colleges compete against each other, but I saw a lot of harmony here. BCCC was here, Frederick Community Colleges. How important were those colleges in playing a part in this event in a very serious collaborative effort?
Yeah, so I do believe the whole idea of having a Maryland Collegiate STEM Conference began, believe it or not, about 4 years ago in a private setting. And we said, you know, how can we help each other? That was the whole idea. And then we came up with this idea, rather than help each other and give ideas to others, why not we collide forces, join forces, and to come up with this initiative here. So believe it or not, in the steering committee, we are representative of a variety of community colleges that are part of the organization committee that has brought this committee to fruition. So it is not just 1 or 2 colleges that are participating, but also they are in the back of what is happening in the planning stage. There are good 8 community colleges that are helping out to bring this event, and they're really committed to this as well. So the next year, CCBC is going to be the host of this initiative here. The first year, Montgomery College was very kind enough to host the event. Last year was Frederick Community College, this year Carroll. So we are hoping that this travels around the state as well. And that is going to happen through collaborations that we truly believe that we are going to help each other be successful and help each other for our students to be successful, because that's the ultimate goal. We are all about our students.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Maryland Collegiate STEM Conference at Carroll Community College. It was an incredible event, and there's some exciting things. We're going to take a look at some more classes, ladies and gentlemen, and just see what he was saying about how important these students are and how successful they are. That says film. Anything that says film. And look, then I'm going to do a slow film. And then sometimes you just take them to just zoom straight up.
I'm sorry guys, I didn't also warn you, I tell really terrible jokes.
Yeah,
so,
I forgot.
I agree.
Require more of a stretchy band. And then the last method is the wax paper folding, and I actually have those for you to try. So I would like to ask if you can grab, and at the table you can have different ones. So one person one type, another person different type.
Like sharing?
So this way you can see all different ones, and also we don't have that much.
Is that a picture?
Have an undergraduate student leading a review session by themselves. And then So then here's this LA right here, and she's in a biology class, and here's the faculty mentor. And so the two of them are walking around the room and working with the students, helping them. She's been instructed to help join the students when they're just kind of working by themselves, and to kind of get them in a cluster.
Some of their films are things you've probably seen on Nova or on PBS, like, did you ever see Your Inner Fish?
Yeah.
That's a great one, and they have some activities that go with that as well. They have some, so a lot of their activities, as I'll tell you about in a second, are linked to some of these films. One of the new things they have now is interactive video. So here's one on the origins of humans. It's a great 15-minute clip. And then what they have during it now, they've embedded in it, so you go like 5 minutes and then you have pop-up questions that then allow the students to review what they've done. So again, you could do this in class. If it was on this, or it could be homework. But these films are actually fun, so I do think. So, but the center of
She has a white everywhere. So I don't know where hers is orange. She is black. So and some of the spots are small enough.
What if you just tried it? Let's try that now.
Or like organization.
Yeah, just regular. Just like that.
But yeah, no, definitely.
Go team.
These are the stars right here, ladies. These are the stars.
Have a reflection piece, so sometimes you would just you'd end and not have a summary, kind of a recap to where you were in the beginning. So that part was nice. So we came up with an inexpensive model, Cool Noodles. They're actually from Kim's house. But this is to help us simulate what is going on when we're expressing it different than mine. So it's just,
Yeah, I have to go to websites and walk through some very step-by-step process of looking through those videos. And
mine's basically the same. They go to an animation, they have to step through it, and it helps them just know some of those terms. But then the activity in class.
And hopefully after doing this enough, which would probably take maybe like 20 tries, I don't know how many, but after so many tries they would eventually realize that they don't have to draw the 3D model, they could draw the 2D model and then just draw where the base would go.